This week on the OneCast, we were supposed to have John Cruz on with us, but we went to reset our router, and either somebody hit a telephone pole and took out the internet, or we fried our router. So we're doing this live, and we're going to talk about invasive species.
Okay, I don't, Trey, what was that? Is that
I don't know. Something's happening right now.
So not only did Trey ruin the router, apparently, he also does not know how to press the right button on our little music thing here. And then, did you hit record this time?
I did. We're recording. Let's try that again. Let's try that one more time, folks.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
So as you can see, if you're a first-time listener, we are professionals.
It's bad. We preach about it, and but you know what? Sometimes things happen, and we're just gonna roll with it.
We haven't ran into these issues. I think it was like the first couple episodes. Like, yeah, we're new to it. We're trying to. I wouldn't even say knock the dust off or rust off. Like, we're just like, we didn't know what to do.
We were learning.
I would consider us like seasoned at this deal.
Well, this is what,
43,
episode 43. Yeah.
And that's how old I feel right now. 43. I don't know how to use a router. I don't know how to use a soundboard. Like, you know what? I blame it all on Michael Johns. He's down right now fishing or pre-fishing for the tournament in Lake Eufaula, Alabama. And, I'm just kidding. I don't blame it on him, but hopefully he has a good tournament. But what is going on tonight, gentlemen?
Not a whole lot. Make sure you head over to OneCastFishing.com and use the code TheOneCast. Save 10% off your order. Get some snagless jigs, weedless Neds, soft plastics, long neck hooks, all of that good stuff. Make sure you support them as they support us. Not a lot, man. It's been an interesting night. We had a whole episode planned out with John, and like maybe 15 minutes before we're supposed to start, our internet went out, completely died.
Yeah. So, but Pete talked to John, and we're gonna record here in a couple weeks, and we're gonna be able to do like a long episode, and that will come out. I think we're planning to do
like 26.
Yeah. So because tonight we were going to have John to talk about missile baits and how we, the start of missile baits and growing that, and then we're probably going to dive in the future talking about his tournament success and being a professional angler. But obviously that is delayed for a couple weeks. So tonight we're kind of spitballing here, and no internet's a problem, because I sent the guys in our group chat a couple articles over the last couple of days that came up about invasive species, which I thought was interesting, because one of the invasive species right now going on in the Southwest is the smallmouth bass.
Really? So they're considering smallies invasive?
Yes.
Where's that at?
So this is in the Colorado River Basin. Again, I'm trying to do this all from memory.
Yep.
Because I can't pull up the article at the moment. But basically, the premise is that because the water has been so low in some of these lakes, I think it might be Lake Mead or Lake Powell, the water temperature, has. Let me put it this way. There's only so much of the water column that can support smallmouth bass. These lakes are so deep out there that water gets so cold, and there's not a lot of oxygen down there either that all the bass have to live with. What is it scientifically? Eutrophic zone? Like the top layer? Yeah, right.
Zone, something like that.
Yeah, the top layer there. And so the water has decreased over the last couple of years so much that zone has been covering some of these, or now where the outflow is for the dams. So they've allowed smallmouth to, one, go downstream. And I guess because of the lower water levels and increase in water temperatures by just a few degrees, some of these have gone further upstream to places that, extreme, like I think Grand Canyon was mentioned in the article about how through the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River that there are now like smallmouth up there.
Who would have thought in a million years that you would hear somebody say like, oh, smallmouth, invasive, bad. Like they're not even in the same sentence. But it's funny you bring that
Well,
up.
if you're out west, they are, because like Yellowstone's had a kill order in Yellowstone River and Yellowstone Lake on if you catch smallmouth, throw it on the bank for years because a few have been caught in there. Whether it's people letting them go, they don't know 100% for sure, but they decimate trout, and trout is king out there.
That's true.
And I don't remember. I'll have to go back and look on Wikipedia or something. But I think the natural original distribution range for smallmouth, it doesn't include like some of our lakes here in North Carolina because it's east of the Continental Divide. So, at some point many years ago, probably a couple centuries or whatever, they moved over and they've now had populations, although we know they were getting destroyed by the spotted bass at this point. But so out west, because of the changing conditions, it's allowed smallmouth to expand their range. So it's going to be interesting, right? Because with the wet winter they had out west and some of this tropical moisture they had, so the lakes have gone up a lot. So if that continues over the next year or two, and they get more water, maybe it will take care of itself. But it's definitely spreading. And I guess the green sunfish is spreading along with the smallmouth bass. And then they're just kind of wrecking havoc. I guess there's some native species of prey or maybe small fish that only exist in those little areas that are going to be threatened. So I think there was a Yahoo article. So if you're interested, Google it. Again, I wish we could bring it
I'll
up
post
here.
the link in the description too, so you can click.
I want to check that out. So it is interesting. So this past Monday, which was 2 days ago from now, but a week in a couple of days for the folks listening and watching, I took my old boss out fishing, fall pattern and stuff like that. The very first thing that he brought up, he said, I got a buddy that lives out west, and he was talking about invasive fish. And I was like, invasive fish, like spotted bass, and that's the first thing that came to mind. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And it's important to talk about this kind of stuff. And folks, if you haven't checked it out, like go back a long time ago and check out our episode with Corey Oakley, who is a biologist here in North Carolina. We talk about the Alabama spotted bass, invasive species and stuff. And then, I hear people talk about like, how do you break down a lake? How do you practice and all that kind of stuff? The history and the ongoing evolution of our water systems and residential development, that should be a part of your calculus when you're looking at tournaments, right? So like if I'm going out west and I have no idea what's going on, but all of a sudden there's smallmouth that are involved in the equation, like that's something to pay attention to. So I think it's more than just checking your mapping products, looking at Google Earth and stuff, but getting into the nuts and bolts of what's going on. That's important for any tournament angler. Yeah.
But to be honest, I think that's more of a long-term play because I'm assuming, and the way I read the article, like the smallmouth that are spreading, just because a lot of the water shallow stuff they're just right, they're small, but that absolutely applies to the Alabama spotted bass that's wrecking havoc here in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, pretty much anywhere east of the Continental Divide because they're not native. And that's what I don't think a lot of people realize, because I made a joke, right, when I sent that in a group text, like, hey, more bass fishing opportunities, right? But there is something to be said, like people, when we had Corey on, and again, Corey is one of the biologists for the state of North Carolina, we talk about spotted bass, and people didn't realize that just because of that Continental Divide and the history of it, just 50-mile difference can determine native to a non-native species. Yep. And if you go centuries or millennia through natural development and evolution, and there's not that competition there, it's going to wreak havoc. Whereas, as we know with the spotted bass, in places where they have largemouth, spotted, and smallmouth all together, they can all coexist. But when you introduce something new, it's
that was the biggest argument. Not really argument, but it was an argument because everybody wants to argue. Like when we released that episode, everybody was like, "Well, they have them in Gunnersville, all three of them," and it's like, yeah, but they've been there forever. They've all come up together. They've evolved together. You didn't just take and dump a new species in where they have no idea how to live together. So if you go listen to that episode, Corey kind of goes into that, but it's like, imagine taking us and dumping us into the middle of Dubai and saying good luck. Like, I wouldn't know how to live there. I'm not from there. I don't know like the commerce. It's kind of the same thing. So I'm going to be competing with people for those resources, right?
You're going to be competing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Big time.
It's a fake place.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, if anybody's listening from Dubai, you know what I'm talking about. Like,
I don't think we have a single listener.
Well, I'll just tell you right now, I've been to Dubai, and it's very nice until you look out from the city, and then it's all desert. So, but still,
that's what I mean. Like,
totally
if you take
right.
somebody and put them in an unnatural habitat, like you're going to compete with the locals, right? You're not going to live together. Look at like.
So I maybe a better analogy would be like, because people don't think of bass as predator fish, like it's like predators, but but think of like anacondas in the Everglades. Yeah, everyone understands
the pythons.
The pythons. Yeah, sorry,
there's snakes on a plane, Ben.
the pythons down there, right? And maybe the boas too. I don't know. They've got all those big long snakes down there, and everyone recognizes the havoc they're wreaking on the ecosystem. So. But everyone knows like a big snake's a predator, but bass are some of the most ferocious predators in the water.
Especially spots and smallmouth. They're super aggressive. I mean, largemouth, of course, but definitely go back and check the episode out. But that's not, if it's not introduced by man, and Corey talked about that, like, anglers or whoever, putting spots in our waterways or
anglers
or a dam breaking or a pond flooding, like the Asian carp issue that we are still dealing with, right? But not every invasive species is bad, is it, Pete?
Not always. I mean, everybody panics.
Yeah.
But I mean, there can be positives, and we were talking about somewhere here in North Carolina. Do you remember where it was? They found zebra mussels.
Yeah, so the North Carolina Wildlife sent out, I guess, their fall update today, and there was a couple new invasive species they're worried about. So the big one that relates to fishing would be the zebra mussels. And I guess they found, it just said a waterway in Iredell County. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember exactly where that's at. I know we have some folks there that have bought some snagless jigs.
Yeah.
So
if you're listening from Iredell County, let us know where that's at.
If we had internet right now, I could check it out.
I'm betting it's west.
Yeah. So they have that. It's only there. And Pete, I mean, you're from up north, so you can talk about the benefits that zebra mussels have had in some of our fisheries, even though it's changed the natural waterways.
Yeah, I mean, like, nature figures out a way, right? It always figures out a way to balance itself. We're going to see it in North Carolina. Yeah, we're not going to have smallmouth anymore, but the spots are going to, eventually you're going to get bigger spots, more than likely. Like, nature's going to balance itself. So with the zebra mussels, the panic, and wash your tanks, do all of that. Absolutely, I'm not saying don't care about it, but everybody thought it was going to be the end of those fisheries. And what they found out is once they got in there, there is some negative impact to plant life and some of the native plant species and native mussel species and things like that.
Because the zebra mussels, right, they feed on basically the vegetation.
On the vegetation, yeah. So they all thought like this is going to be the end all of our vegetation. It's going to kill all the vegetation. And really it hasn't. What it's done is it's helped keep the vegetation in check, but it's helped clean up the waterways pretty significantly, and they've attributed some of that to the zebra mussels. But then what it also did was at the same time as the zebra mussels sort of showed up is when the gobies showed up in like Lake Erie. And
were the gobies already there?
It was close to the same time. I don't think they've ever really said when they thought the gobies got here.
So the gobies are invasive too?
Yeah, so they came over. They tracked them coming over in ballast from ships coming from like China and stuff. They would get in the ballasts as they would fill.
Because they go up the canals.
And then when they would go up the canals and they would dump water, the gobies would be in there. And eventually they took over and they destroyed. It was pretty bad. They were pretty rough for a while. But then they started eating the zebra mussels. And then you start getting those super gobies. And if you've watched any of the tournaments up there, guys are catching them on drop shot and they're catching gobies that are like 6 inches long.
Yeah.
So now the bass are feeding on those big giant gobies. It's actually, there's a Lake Erie water snake, which only lives on Lake Erie, which is practically extinct. And then the gobies came and they started eating the gobies, and now they're starting to recover because of that new food. Like, nature finds a way, right? But it doesn't mean to go put invasive species, but it also doesn't always mean that it's the end of the world when they show up. Like, you should definitely try to eradicate them because they do cause a negative impact on natural species, like we're going to see in North Carolina with the extinction of lake smallmouth. At least they're hoping the river smallmouth will survive because they don't know if the spots will make it. But
the reason for that is, and I don't want to give it away, totally go back and listen to it, but crossbreeding, right?
Yep.
That's happening. And it's not so much happening with largemouth and spots as it is spots with smallies, which is why Pete's saying what he's saying. I'm just going to relabel those fish as smallmouth. That's what I'm going to do. It's a smallmouth to me.
I mean,
if it looks
It
like
does
it's
have a smaller mouth.
it does have a smaller mouth. If it's got a rough patch on his tongue, well, you know what? I've caught largemouth with a little bit of rough patch on their tongue too. So
changing definitions, that's
Yeah.
commonplace these days. I mean,
yeah,
I think that was what was interesting with Corey is everybody's like the spots are eliminating the largemouth, and he said they're not. We're still seeing them in the surveys. It's just pushing them to different parts of the lakes where guys aren't looking. So if you're fishing a spotted bass lake, the largemouth are still there. They're just not where they normally would be because they can't compete with 5,000 12-inch spots on a rock point.
yeah. It's the thing that makes this. I mean, it can be a cause for concern. That's why every angler should be a conservationist and like pay attention to their environment and clean the lakes up and do your due diligence when it comes to cleaning your boat and stuff. But it's also the thing that makes it so exciting as well because like the 50-yard line on a football field never moves. Ever, right? The basketball hoops in the NBA court doesn't move, but in this sport, it's always moving, and that's the most interesting and like exciting thing about this deal. So, but it comes with a cost, right? And that's being a good conservationist. You need to carry that weight on your shoulders. So, all invasive species aren't bad, I guess.
I mean, they're still bad.
I mean, like hydrilla, hydrilla was bad, but hydrilla was good.
There's always negatives. Like again, we're not going to have smallmouth in lakes in North Carolina. If I remember right when Corey was here, there's like 1 or 2 lakes where there's still pure smallmouth, and he expects them not to be there much longer. But all those lakes out west, he said they haven't had a pure smallmouth in years in DNA, and eventually it goes to 0.
Yeah.
So like. Everybody's like, oh, Norman, you got there and catch 1 million fish. But at what cost? Like, part of that is the elimination of smallmouth, even though I don't think there were smallmouth in Norman. But
no, but
they've spread from there, and they saw what they did to Norman. So anglers, and it's 100% anglers, have moved those fish to other bodies of water to make their fishery better, and now they're going to eradicate smallmouth bass from lakes in North Carolina.
Yeah. We'll see what the impacts of another episode we talked about, F1. Well, no, we talked about it in the same episode, right, with the F1 bass introduction.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the F1s.
You know, if there was ever a place where smallmouth would thrive, it would be on Lake Norman.
You would think.
I would think, right? Like, and we saw that the other day. There was
It's so deep.
Yeah, but smallies love that.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying.
It's so deep. It's not crystal clear, but it's got a lot of rock and
I think part of the issue there is it's not a very nutrient productive lake.
It's not nutrient productive, and I don't know.
So then we need gobies.
What's running through my mind is like, I don't know about the water temp there.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But then I think like Bull Shoals in Missouri, and like in the summertime, it's like 88 degrees in the
smallmouth in Hawaii.
and like
that's
you know what I mean? Like,
but the elevation though, right? So it doesn't get hot up there.
Yeah, that's next time we have Corey on, we'll have to ask that question. Like, why aren't they there? Because it is kind of interesting that they aren't when you think of a big, deep water reservoir like Norman.
Yep.
It's man-made, right?
Norman?
Yeah, Norman.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it comes down like again, we can't check, and we should know this being in North Carolina, but doesn't James and the other lake, don't they feed into Norman? Is that all the same river chain?
I think he said that
they do, because that's how they started, was in Norman, and then he said they moved upstream to like James or one of those other lakes. So, and that's how they know anglers did it. It wasn't natural because spotted bass can't jump a dam.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
not yet they can't.
And swim up
They
river.
may evolve and grow legs. Frog legs. And then you can eat some good spots with frog legs. That's great. Yeah, it's cool to learn about this stuff. And it really does change the dynamics. And like you said, you're not going to see it tomorrow, but you will see it 15, 20 years from now. It'll change the entire
do your
ecosystem.
part, try to stop it, but also when they do show up, don't panic. Like, follow whatever the experts tell you to try to eliminate them, but don't go on full panic mode and say, oh my God, there's zebra mussels going to destroy our fishery. And then you Google, oh, round gobies destroy zebra mussels. And then you go order 1,000 of them and dump them into the lake. And then now you've got an even bigger mess on your hands.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times that's what happens and why you see like this stack outside of Florida, because that's just people buying stuff that they can't handle and then letting it go. But like, I think you do see that. You see anglers, because we all want to help, But then they see, oh, well, this species here, and if I get this species, it'll take care of the problem. So they sneak that in there, and then that's a whole nother can of worms. It spitballs into something even bigger.
So speaking of, we just talked about Lake Norman. We were talking about like spotted bass and smallies and stuff like that. But, November 10th, and we've been plugging this, November 10th, Pete and myself, I don't know if Ben, if you're going to be there or not. No, you're going to be gone, right?
I don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
We're still working it.
But November 10th, we got the, Special Operations Bass Anglers is hosting their annual event. And it's the, this event is for Chief Warrant Officer Cantrell, correct?
Yeah.
And so we're going to be up there fishing that, man. It's going to be a great time. Pete's dad's going to fish with me. Chelsea's going to fish with you. Mike Johns may be able to make it up from Florida and fish it. It's a really good event. And I'm looking forward to catching some spotted bass, dude. It's been, besides Gaston this year, like I haven't really done any spotted bass fishing. So,
yeah, I mean, Gaston's a spotted bass lake, obviously, but I caught all largemouth I did catch one spot, but like they were on beds last time I was there. Every time I've gone there, it's been more of a largemouth tournament just because of the way it's set up time of year. So this is the first time I'm going that's like a true spotted bass. Like whoever wins is going to be the person that catches the 3-pound spots instead of the 2.5-pound spots.
Yeah,
most likely. But so I'm kind of excited because it's not anything I've ever done. I'm looking at it similar to smallmouth fishing up north, like drop shot, shaky head, Ned rig. There's rock, there's docks, and I'm just gonna go fish because I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. And then that tournament, I mean, they should be full on fall and gorging themselves. Come that week in November.
Yeah, that's what's different about the species in general. Largemouth right now in North Carolina, they're not impossible to catch. I went out and caught like 25 of them on Monday. Granted, they were babies, almost the same size as the spots that you're probably going to catch in Lake Norman. But as the fall transition happens in North Carolina, like spots love that cold weather. They just eat everything. Like it does not matter what you throw at them. But I will tell you that. Don't discount the largemouth on Lake Norman.
Oh, no.
Like, there is still one warm water discharge on Lake Norman. Duke Power Plant has a discharge there, and that's up the river and stuff like that. And you're getting into some really dirty water. But I'm not going to give all the juice away, but I'll tell you this right now. Like, when we go up there in November, like, yeah, Trey's going to be going after some largemouth to see if he can find something. But that's a great place to go just to catch fish. And, granted, we talked about Special Operations Bass Anglers and the tournament itself, like for the charity purposes and for the intent behind it, it's just a great organization to go fish with. And so if you're in the area or not, there's people that travel all the way from Texas to do this, right?
Yeah, there's folks coming from Texas, Michigan, New York. I think some other folks from Pennsylvania, Nick was saying. So It's cool. There's a ton of Airbnbs and places to stay around the lake. It's relatively cheap, especially if you have a group of folks coming down. Most of the hotels are pretty good as long as you stay out of where was that?
Yeah, don't stay in Mooresville, man. Jeez.
And then you can stay and fish the whole weekend if you want. Like that's what we're doing. We're gonna go Thursday, pre-fish a little bit, have some fun, help Nick and the guys that are running the tournament if they need it, and then we'll fish Friday, have a good time, and then Trey and my dad are going to fish Saturday. I've got our club championship Saturday, Sunday. It's a 2-day tournament. So I'm going to be doing that those 2 days after. And it's just going to be a fun weekend on the water, on a different body of water that I'm not used to fishing.
Yeah.
And with a bunch of good people, cooking out, hanging out. Hopefully Mike can make it up. Mike, when you listen, you better make it up. Which he was looking for a veteran to take. So we have some non-veterans that he could potentially fish with, but if you're a veteran listening to the show and you might be interested and you don't have a boater that you can fish with, holler at us, shoot us a DM, and we'll check with Mike. If he hasn't found anybody, maybe we can link you guys up and you can jump in the boat with him and go run around Norman and chase some spots. Mike's a great guy. Yeah, you all should have met him by the time this one comes out because I think they're going to try to get him on Fishing Friday.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get him on, man. Assuming we have internet. But yeah, while we're on the Mike topic, real quick, and this is gonna air after the BFL Regional Championship is over with on Lake Eufaula, Alabama. There's a lot of people that are like, that place is tough. This time of year, that place is super tough. But he is on something pretty cool, and I don't want to give his juice away. So
it's good this thing's airing after because you don't have to knock on wood.
Yeah. I told him today because he, I made a post and I was like, hey, dude, good luck, fishing Saturday or fishing this weekend. And he sent a snarky comment back to me and he goes, the tournament starts on Thursday. And I said, yeah, but you got to make it to Saturday. Okay. So there's a 3-day derby and stuff like that, but he's on something pretty special.
Yeah. Because he sent me a picture yesterday, 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. I think he caught one on a snagless maybe or something. And I said, awesome, but you need to catch some bigger fish because it was a skinny little guy. And then he sent one you mean like this? I was like, yeah, that's the one you need.
That's what I like about the fall. We talked about it before. And if you didn't hear our last episode, it was the last episode we talked about it, right?
Yeah.
Our favorite.
Our favorite baits to throw.
Yeah. I'm a huge, I love the fall because you can pretty much do anything you want. You can definitely go out there and zero. That's easy to do. And, I went out Sunday and I caught 5 fish by 9:30 in the morning and I didn't get anything the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. But then I also went out Monday and caught 25 fish. So, it's ever changing. But you can go deep, you can go shallow, you can go middle water depth and stuff like that. But for you follow where he's at, he is in that mid depth range. And I won't give his specific techniques away, but he's catching good fish. But you'll see in the fall, those weights are typically lower. Eufaula has good weights through the spring and the summer. But, I'm going to predict, right now I'm going to make a prediction. If you have 13.5 to 14 pounds a day, you're going to be in the money. You're going to make it to day 3. If you have 16 pounds a day, you're 16 to 16 and a half or 17 pounds, you're going to be right there in the top. Now, somebody is totally going to prove me wrong and drop a 21-pound bag on them or something like that.
Somebody's
going to do that. But
it's the average you're talking about. It's not one day. You might catch 27 pounds on day 1 and then catch 14 on day 2.
But that's the cool thing about the fall is it is really anyone's game at this point.
You never know.
We saw that a few years ago in 2020, on the Elite.
Oh, with the schedule the way it was.
When they went to Gunnersville in September or October, and it was a different game.
Yeah, that's right.
Than it is when they go.
Was that the one Bill Lowen ended up winning?
No. I honestly don't remember. I just remember the weights were way down. The fish, obviously, because it's the fall, were all scattered about. You didn't have that traditional ledge.
You're talking about on Tennessee River? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Bill definitely won that with a jig.
That's when he won it with a jig and a lipless.
Yeah.
He was fishing some.
I want to say that was his first Elite Series victory. First and only, but he deserved that one.
Yeah.
Big time.
I remember it was interesting.
That was emotional, dude.
Because of them having to fish in the fall. Everything was different.
Yep.
And you think those tournaments, specifically that year, by going in the fall, these guys have been. And even if they were a rookie and had never been on that lake, you're probably around guys, you hear things, you can go watch all the tournament coverage from 20, 30, 40, probably not 40 years ago, but you understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of tournament coverage on those lakes for the times they usually go there.
There wasn't any for October. And they're figuring that out in the opens right now with the Harris chain.
So you bring that up, right? So let's rewind real quick. Weren't majority of the people trying to fish the tail race and stuff during that Elite Series event? But Bill found something on the bank where he was flipping timber with a jig and docks with a jig.
There were some that fished the tail race, most of the consistent bags. But Bill, most of his bigger fish came off a lipless. He was fishing off a rock point on some submerged grass, and he was ripping it over the top. And then he caught some fish shallow on a jig, first thing.
Yeah.
And then he was transitioning.
I remember
he was the only one really doing that.
He caught a 7-pounder, I want to say. It was a 7 or plus, and he held that up, and I was like, dude, because this guy, I don't know Bill personally, but he seems like
he was one of those guys, and when he won, everybody was super happy to see him win. So you just kind of get a feeling on how a guy like that is, and that was cool. But
so Mike, but Mike is fishing BFL regional, right? So that's MLF sanctioned event.
That's their super.
And then
regional,
And then also at the same time,
the Open on Harris chain.
Yeah.
Which in the fall.
Yeah.
We've talked to our friends that fish the Open.
Yeah, it's not
everybody's struggling.
it's and of course it's still early October or mid October.
Yep.
So, but it's not been cold enough yet because sometimes down there in Florida you get some spawning bass in October or November. I don't think that's happening this year. It's been we haven't had a big enough cold front to come through to drop those temps.
I don't think anybody knows what's happening right now At least nobody I've talked to or heard from, like everybody's struggling right now.
My guess is someone's going to win it offshore.
Probably.
And some of the grass patches, no idea what lake that's going to be because I don't know how the grass is setting up right
You
now.
have to look at the spray schedule, figure out who.
Well,
has
definitely. I won't name who it is. Well, I'll name it. Like Destin. We talked to Destin, and like he's like, dude, certain lakes are no goes.
Yeah,
But you got the day I talked to him because I called him. I was like, dude, I can't get my .1 antenna to work. Like, how do you do this? And he's like, yeah, I don't do anything. So I let it rest overnight. But I was like, hey, how's everything going? And he's like, yeah, I'm on the wrong lake. I'm on the wrong lake today.
Look,
but
you know, as someone who's fished down there,
yeah,
for a couple of weeks, like that's 100% true. And if you go back, the last time the elites went, last year, last year, like Apopka was in play.
Yeah,
but there had been several years that Apopka was not in play because I think they had killed all the grass and it was just really dirty and had gotten polluted and all. But it, you know, it's starting to come back, so you know you saw that in play. It's also a long ways down there from where they take off, but like each lake changes every year. That like for instance, when I was down there wasn't very much like offshore grass in Lake Eustis, but this last year or even this year, maybe I was watching it. One of the guides down there, he does a YouTube video. He's like, "There's grass all over Eustis," so it just it changes year to year.
And we started the show off talking about like invasive species and like, you know, things constantly changing the ecosystem, but it's not just invasive species. I mean, it's them spraying the grass. I mean, if there's anybody that is probably should be the most adaptable at the environment change, and there's those Florida anglers, and Destin used to live there, you know? And so like every single year, something is different. You see it on Okeechobee.
Yeah,
Okeechobee's constant.
It's the different, but it's the same down there.
Yeah.
it's
Different, but same, but different.
Same. Because it's still the same thing. It just might be a different lake. Or Okeechobee's pretty much the same areas, but it fishes super small. So like, whichever area, whether it's north or south,
it can either fish small or can fish.
It could
big.
fish big, but typically when they're there, it fishes small.
And the way it kind of lines up down in Okeechobee, this is extremely true. Like you want to find clean water, so like. If you've got the one they're on direction for a week straight or something, like it just blows it out. Of course, hurricanes down there in Okeechobee change everything.
And that's what we saw when the elites were there this past year. Was it blew out of the north, I think, for like 5 days. So everybody was having to fish the north side of the lake.
Yeah.
And so it was fishing super small.
And if you look traditionally, it's either the north end or kind of like the west end of the lake.
Yeah. So weather's a huge role, and then man is also another.
So it's funny, right?
factor.
Like, so Florida constantly changing. You had that like 100-year flood that jacked up. What was it? The Delaware River, and then was it the Delaware River?
Oh, for the Classic,
and then
Pittsburgh, that's the Ohio,
or Ohio.
That was like 750-year flood. Yeah,
well, 1,000 years,
1,000,
whatever.
something crazy.
You know, who's competing? And then you got invasive species, but there are some lakes around here that don't change that much, like Jordan Lake, for instance. I mean, minus the fact when it gets a lot of water, like you'll see like timber and stuff floating down the river systems. But I talk about that because there was the question in a couple weekends ago. The OneCast was at the kayak master class at Cash and Rods here in Sanford, North Carolina, and one of the guys in the crowd asked the question. He goes, "How do I?" To Jody Queen and Casey Reed and Corey Dreyer and who's that fourth guy? Anyways, the name's escaping me.
Sorry,
Matt, right?
Matt. Yeah,
yeah.
Matt Ball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Matt Ball. And he asked a question. He's like, "Hey, they killed all the grass in my lake. I think it was more like a pond, but it's like a private lake or whatever."
He said 60 acres, I think.
Yeah, so decent amount, right? For a kayak angler or a shore fisherman. How do I break that body of water down? And everyone was just like, "Hey, dude, the water's always changing." You know, so like the best thing you can do is like just get time on the water and go figure it out. And that's what those guys in the EQs are doing down in Florida right now. That's what the guys are doing. You follow. That is literally like, if there's any piece of advice you could give somebody, I feel like, yeah, you can Google Earth it. Yeah, you can map product it. Yeah, you can do this. But like, just go out there. Just go out there.
Yeah.
You know?
And
definitely map product before you go anywhere.
Well, yeah, you want to do that.
yeah, unless you're in
Definitely
Florida,
look at
like,
maps.
Although Florida, like that's not a big deal. It's a lot of those lakes. There's not enough. There's very little depth contour change.
I mean, say the same thing.
Well, it's not, I'm not even so much concerned about contour change, but that's where you want to look at, bank structure and grass and things like that, and put yourself in an area where there's going to be fish potentially, and spend your time there instead of just going in the lake and running around like I do all the time.
I told unfortunately I don't remember his name, but I told him, because I asked him what graph he had on his kayak, and I said, I don't know if this one will do or not, but in that situation, like when they kill all the grass, and you don't have a map or a lot of contour lines, like typically, and even if the grass was still there,
that was Cam Steele.
Yeah,
was that who it was?
Yeah, Cam.
That if you can, like the hummingbirds will do it. You can go to a particular color palette where it's basically red and green, and the red shows the hard spots.
Yeah.
And you can adjust your sensitivity so where you can find those hard spots. And it works well in grass, and that's how folks find shell beds a lot of times too. You could do the same thing with your normal picture on side imaging and down imaging. It's just because obviously it gets hotter.
The sensitivity and stuff.
Yeah, but it's just easier when on that other color palette. But if you can find those hard spots where they killed the grass, like that's where someone should congregate.
Yeah,
because it's not a mud bottom, and they can sit up there and maybe ambush thing. And then obviously, if you can find any type of stick ups or lay downs or under brush piles or something, then that's probably where they're going to move to if all the grass is gone.
I think the whole narrative of this episode is the constant changing environment.
It is
that we deal with as anglers.
We do.
You know, you're constantly dealing with everything we just talked about and more. And then how do you overcome that adversary of the ecosystem changing?
You know what doesn't ever change, though? Is the comfort and protection that my Carolina Waters gear gives me. Make sure you head to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast at checkout to save 20% off your order. Get some UPF shirts, some hats, some casual tees. There should be some warmer weather stuff coming. We've been talking about in the group chat, helping them kind of look at some different stuff. Also in the month of October, which we're still in, if you order 20% of your order, whatever the total is, 20% of that is going to go to the family in Hawaii that we talked about with Maddie. And also we're doing a giveaway attached to that. So if you do order, screenshot, send me a receipt of your order, a copy of your receipt from your order.
It's all the same.
Whatever I'm trying to say, send that to me or to the page, and we'll enter you in a giveaway where we're going to give away one of our hats and shirts. And then Swamp Fox Customs is sending some baits. And he told me he was sending, but I can't look at my phone right now to find it because we don't have service.
Yep.
So make sure you head to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast. Get yourself some gear. It doesn't matter if you're in the Carolinas or not. It's good quality stuff. It'll help keep you safe. And if you spend time on the water, whether on a boat, kayak, shore, whatever, it's important to wear those long sleeves and things like that. We're not doing it as a fashion statement. I'm doing it because I've met 7,000 old guys that are on their 90th.
I think it looks good.
I mean, it looks good. It's a fashion.
I took my daughter to the
it definitely looks
dance with Carolina Water shirt on. No big deal. Speaking of that,
well,
go ahead.
Well, I wanted to get back about everything changing.
Everything is changing
because I was thinking that there is something that does change on Jordan. The shell beds out there.
Shell beds on Jordan?
Yeah, they get like clam shells.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they move around. Also, some of the brush piles will shift when we get those super high water. So I had a terrible itch on the top of my head right there.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I've seen brush piles that I've fished before that are just gone.
Yeah.
And some of the laydowns will get when it gets super high.
I don't consider that changing a whole month.
Well, it does. It changes that offshore where they used to live. Now you gotta go.
Well, like that one particular spot. But
but
Pete's just mad because
I
I dropped my anchor and I drag him away. Like
that's what we do on Harris for everybody looking for the crappy.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding.
This was your juice? We're going to move this.
Yeah.
Just move that a couple feet.
Yeah, your juice is no
more.
more.
It's funny because Trey and I were joking one day on Harris, and there's a brush pile that everybody fishes. And Trey's like, wouldn't it be fun if we just come out here and snug that and drug it down like 100 feet where nobody would know where it was at?
That was the actual piece of advice. Besides, and going back to the kayak masterclass, like, side scan imaging is your best friend. When an entire body of water, if the bottom composition has changed so much, they kill the grass, whatever, side scan is your best friend.
And listen, if you don't have side scan, you can do it with down in 2D.
Yes, you can.
If you're fishing from the bank, They did it for years without anything. It's called a big heavy jig, and drag that joker on the
Yep.
bottom, and you will feel the differences in the bottom, and you'll
Yep.
find those hard spots.
And
stuff.
we definitely recommend like a 3/4 ounce
Football head.
snagless
That's
jig
right.
because you're not going to lose it as much.
That's right. And then once you get on the juice, if they start freaking out and they're getting more finicky, then switch to that, OneCast fishing weedless Ned head. And then, because that's what I put my old boss on, and he crushed them. But yeah, I mean, like, you don't have to have electronics, but if you do, side scan that stuff. And then, if it's legal, sink your own brush piles.
Yep.
Drop your own brush piles out there, your old Christmas trees, whatever the case may be. I don't know what's legal and not legal, but drop it in the water.
Just remember, if you do it on Jordan, you have to send it to the Army Corps engineers so they can put it on their map, and I know where it's at. Yeah, so I have Ben's going to check camera real quick, but I have one more thing on graphs. If you do have them and you're fortunate enough to be able to afford graphs and you have that stuff on your boat, learn how to use it because it is your most valuable tool. I know a ton of people are like, I just use it for depth. I'm like, well, all you're doing is hurting yourself. Well, I still catch them sometimes. Like, learn how to use your graphs, whatever the capabilities are. There's so many good instructional videos out there. Ben's got some on OneCast Fishing's page. There's a ton of people that have done great educational videos on graphs. Trey and I have talked about filming some just because it's something to do. So we may put some stuff out. But it's important you know how to use that tool. And a lot of people get frustrated, like, fish finders don't help. And it's like, well, they do if you know how to use them.
Why does everybody have a southern accent?
Because we're in the South, so everybody has a southern accent. But no, I just wanted to say that one last thing. So coming up, what do we got, boys? Joey Cifuentes.
Yeah, if we have internet,
If Trey doesn't screw the internet up.
Yeah. I mean, he's your reigning Rookie of the Year for the Bassmaster Elite Series. He won two trophies and
Century belt.
And
a Century belt.
And a Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, man.
That's pretty
So
impressive.
he will be on here next episode.
Next episode will be his as long as we have internet.
I will knock on wood for this one.
Yeah, whatever. We're gonna drive up the road and do it in the vehicle.
And then we have John scheduled to come back on.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some. It'll be a little bit longer when we were able to work schedules where we have.
The cool thing with John, and maybe it worked out for a reason, right? The cool thing with John is John's limited on time. Right? He's a very busy man. He's an entrepreneur. He's a father. He's a husband. All that stuff. The same thing that a lot of us are. But the cool thing is with rescheduling John, he's actually going to be in the missile baits factory, and he's going to be able to have a lot more time.
Give
to
us a little
talk
bit
to
more
us.
time. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, like, maybe things worked out for a reason.
And I definitely want to talk to him about schedule because we've had a lot of people talk about it, and that's a guy that can tell you
Yeah.
it's not for everybody because he's running missile baits, fishing the Elite Series. He's big with the ASA. For those who don't know, that's the
American Sportsmen's Association.
Yeah,
They're the ones who put on ICAST.
yeah, they put on ICAST and do a bunch of other stuff in the industry.
They do a bunch of lobbying and
Yep. He's very involved with them. He's very involved with Bass as an organization in general. So he's got a ton of stuff going on. So just to hear the amount of time that you need to put into certain things, I think would be cool. And then that'll come out while we're at Lake Lanier. So
Yeah.
we've been talking about it. We're heading down there for the NPFL's season finale. It's not their championship. That'll be early next year.
Yep.
But the season finale of the NPFL on Lake Lanier, that is October 26th, 27th, and 28th. So we'll be there all 3 days. Trey will be there, I think, all week, maybe, potentially.
Maybe, I don't know. We didn't book the Airbnb before that, so I don't really know if I want to sleep in my truck. But
We'll for sure be there for the weigh-in on
Yeah.
day one, the 26th, and then we'll be hanging out the 27th, 28th, and we're going to take off Sunday morning. So if you're anywhere near there.
Yeah. Well, the thing I was going to say, if you're near there, and I talked to Brad the other day, so they're not doing the weigh-in where they're taking off. So everybody needs to understand that. And I cannot remember the name, but the bottom line
Here, let
is,
me look it up real quick.
yeah. But so we are about 24 minutes away from takeoff at the park that they're taking off from, but then they are weighing in down south, and I think we're about 24 minutes from that. So we're right in the middle.
Yeah, I planned that.
Yeah, great job. And he's
That was pure luck because I had no idea they weren't.
But it'll be
waiting
cool,
to
man.
take
So, go check out our episode with Todd Goad. He's a super awesome dude, good steward of the profession.
12-point lead.
And he has the chance to hoist the gold shield this year. And so
12-point lead, sure get it done.
Home Lake.
who's right on his heels? Jesse Wise? Or
Yeah.
Jesse Wise from North
Jesse's
Carolina.
right there, and there's
Yeah.
somebody else's right there.
Yeah.
So as long as No one finished. Like
Trent, I think, is one of the ones
Jesse
that's right
or
there, and he's got a lot of experience.
Trent Palmer, yeah.
He's
And-
got a lot of experience on.
And
the
go check out our episode with Trent Palmer
Trent's-
because he breaks the juice down up north. So like, yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. And you know, like while there may be an off season for anglers, there's no off season for the OneCast. So we were going to be talking a whole lot with hopefully a lot of these guys and gals and stuff like that.
Show season will be here before long. We'll let you know where
That's
we're
right.
going to be for those. I know Raleigh for sure.
right now, I know Raleigh, which is Martin Luther King weekend.
Richmond is the
Richmond
weekend
is the
after.
following weekend, and then the following weekend, actually, it's Thursday through Sunday, is the East Tennessee one in Knoxville. So those 3 right now, and that's 3 straight weeks. So I don't know if how we'll feel that happen.
Good.
I don't know.
God.
You might not see my face at a lot of those. Just, I mean, full disclosure,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm going through transition from the military and stuff,
Well,
so I got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, and I know at one point you may not be here.
Yeah.
I'll for sure be at Raleigh, and then probably one of the other 2, but I don't know which one yet. So
What do you mean I won't be here? What do you mean?
But that's just the military stuff.
Oh yeah, military stuff. I'm definitely staying in North Carolina. Like for everybody that wants to know, like I'm staying in North Carolina.
A business trip. Is
Oh
what I mean.
yeah, for sure.
I'm hopefully staying in North Carolina. We'll find out soon.
You better stay in North Carolina. Like this is not the demise of the OneCast, guys.
I like
but-
to torment Trey about that.
Yeah.
No, but so we'll have some shows, and we'll be hanging out with OneCast Fishing. We'll be hanging out with Carolina Waters. Make sure you check out that benefit tournament. Look up Special Operations Bass Anglers. They're also tagged in the description below every week. If you click on them, it'll take you to their Facebook page where it has all of that info. If you do want to fish it, you can DM their page, and then it's pay at the ramp. And if I remember right, it's $100 and then 10 or maybe 20 for big fish.
Yeah.
But all the proceeds go to that family. And Nick was on last episode, if you listen, which releases tomorrow while we're recording because we're a week ahead. He talked about all the great prizes. Solix Fish Finders Humminbird donated tons of rods and reels and line and a power pole and all kinds of good stuff. So come out and fish it. If you don't have a boat, find somebody that does. And go fish it because it's gonna be for a great cause. It's gonna be a ton of fun.
The annual Mark McCowan.
It's the annual Mark McCown Special Operations, and then it benefits a Special Operations family every year.
That's right.
Whether it's a Gold Star family or whatever it is. So it's a great event. I'm really looking forward to it. I didn't get to go last year, so I'm pretty excited to go this year. We'll be there. There's a bunch of pro anglers that come and hang out, so it's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell you what circuit, but Pete and I, we just signed up. We're going to be fishing next year together, and probably against some of the people that we talk about on the show. So we'll see. So we may get our lunch money stolen. I don't know. But even so, it's a great opportunity to get them on the show and talk about it as well. So
Yeah, I'm definitely going to donate to some new people next year. So, no, just kidding. Looking forward to fishing with Trey, and we'll say who it's with here before too long. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And some of you that listen probably fish it, so we're looking forward to hanging out with y'all and spending some time together.
that's right.
Anything else, boys?
No, man. Ever-changing environment, ever-changing fishing season right now, fall transition. Hope everybody goes out there and catches them. Join us up at the Special Operations Bass Anglers on November 10th. Join us at the MPFL event in third week of October.
Fourth.
Fourth week of October?
26th, 27th, 28th.
That's right. Oh, Halloween's right now. Oh, you know what?
That's also
And by
the,
way,
weekend of my wife's birthday, so we're going to have to do something.
Okay, my wife's birthday is on the 17th of October. But I did want to say something, and Pete talked about it, sending your receipts to like either him or the community page. Hey, that community page, like we want to create engagement with everybody. Like we want you to post your pictures and stuff like that. So that's all about like us and all of you guys interacting with each other. We
It's also
appreciate
linked
that.
in the description every week.
That's right. So check that out. Head over to Instagram. Give us a follow on that. We're not doing anything special, but just posting pictures and making posts and stuff like that. So we appreciate you guys following along. Ben, what you got?
That's it.
Cool.
You guys hit it all.
Sweet. Make sure you jump on that community page and help us continue to grow a culture of anglers helping anglers, one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.